Oh, great. That's
Okay.
great.
Okay. This is WZRD Chicago 88.3 FM. We have with us today Joanie Pallatto, vocalist, and also owner with Bradley Parker Sparrow, Southport Records, a major record label in Chicago. Welcome, Joanie. So good to have you on WZRD today.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here.
First of all, Joanie, when we noticed that your song was your first song on your album that you wrote. My original plan for the album, my original plan.
Well, it's funny. I had the idea for just the words came into my mind, my original plan. And this was a couple of years ago. And I thought, that would be a great title for a record. So I jotted it down on an index card, as I always do. I often do. It's still my kind of like my modus operandi for ideas. I jot
Mhm.
things down on index cards.
Did you
So,
use index cards when you were in school for notes,
um,
etc.?
I think I got that from Sparrow because
Oh,
he always has a stack of index cards around and jotting things down. So I think that came more from him. I don't
mhm.
remember the grade school, but that's a good question. Maybe I did and I don't remember it. But the funny thing is that when you have an idea like that, a title for a
Mhm.
song, and actually, I was thinking it was a good title for a record. And then you're sort of daunted with the task of now you have to come up with the goods, you have to write the song. Um, but I think that the melody from the song came from the lyric, my original plan. So if you just sort of follow that, then the music sort of came naturally, I guess you could say. And I had to think about, well, what was the first things in my life as a child that I thought about that were my original plan, and then bring it around to what's happening in my life today. So turn this down, sorry.
Okay.
Second.
I listened to your my original plan many times, and it seems as if a lot of what you described is what your goals are in life.
Yeah, and then now at the end of the song, I say, and now I finally found my home, and there's no longer need to roam. No
Mhm.
regretting about the things I could have done
Mhm.
with my original plan.
What was the progression for writing the various tracks?
Well, you know, they all happened kind of at different times. Some of them are are songs from as as much as 10 years ago. The Confessional, for example, actually is certainly not from the year I talk about in the song, 1972. I wasn't thinking about the song that long ago,
Mhm.
but uh, I can remember singing the the refrain of "Where is the angel of forgiveness?" That was going in my mind, around and around in my mind. And it's funny when you have these like seeds of ideas for a song, and then the difficult or challenging part is what's in between the bread, you know,
Mhm. Mhm.
what's where the song goes from from a concept or a title or a lyric, and then you have to make it whole.
It's like the fillings of a sandwich.
Yeah, that's right, that's right.
Well, you said that you invited an artist to play the priest. Could you describe what happened with there?
Oh
And
yes.
yes.
Yeah, The Confessional, for those of you that haven't heard it, it's a very personal story about my decision to not go back to confession. I was raised Catholic. The priest in my confession in 1972 when I left home to go to college. So I was in Cincinnati, Ohio, at a new church with a new priest. And I was used to confessing these same sins, and the priest would just say, in Xenia, Ohio, he'd say, do 10 Hail Marys, do 10 Our Fathers, and you're done, right? Well, the new priest didn't know me. So he slammed the door on me, the confessional door, and he said, come back when you're sorry for your sins. Bam. And I thought, oh my God. So I included that in the song. And my good friend from college in Cincinnati, we both went to the University of Cincinnati Conservatory of Music. His name is Bill Nolte, and he's a very successful actor in the Broadway world. He's been on Broadway, off Broadway, you name it. Bill's done it all. And I thought, well, he's one of my best friends from school. He was going to be in town out of the blue in Chicago because he lives in New York. And I said, you have to do the voice of the priest. Bill has joined us on many different occasions when we perform in New York. We always include inviting Bill to our concerts. So he always sings a couple songs. And I thought, well, now he can be on my record. Plus, he's an actor, so he can sing and play the priest. And he did a great job. It was so much fun. It was so great to have someone that I'm so close with be able to be part of my album in such a personal way.
How serendipitous for him to step into your life at that moment and be part of this. Let's take a little listen to the confessional, shall we? Let's listen.
Yes. Oh, yes, yes. Are we there? Mm.
You know, Joanie, Bill Nolte sounded exactly like the priest that sing Latin at masses.
Yes.
So wonderful.
He did such a great job.
Yes. How many takes did it take for him to do such a wonderful job? Would you say? Do you still remember?
Well, since he came into the studio to overdub, after the song was recorded, we had the ability to go through different sections. In fact, the very first line he sings wasn't in my original chart, the first Amen, I think it was. And I
Yes.
said, oh, we really need something at the beginning. And we were pretty much done. And he said, such a professional, he said, well, I'm here. Let's go back. Let's do it. So, so yeah, we tried different things, especially at the end of the song when he was doing more of the speaking priest part,
Oh,
to find the voice, to find exactly the tone of what we wanted, you know.
oh,
But being an actor,
yes.
he could do a million takes, right?
Yes. Yes, wonderful. Okay, then you started My Original Plan many years ago. So why was 2021 the time to resume and complete the project?
Well, the time had come, I guess, especially after the year that was lost of 2020. I started recording in 2019. I was really lucky because I had a couple of really intensive rehearsals with just Farid Haq and myself to sort of plot out the songs. I had all the songs written, to think about what we wanted to do with the arrangements. And then we chose a weekend in early December of 2019 and recorded all almost all 14 songs. Sparrow, recorded a couple others later with me, but we recorded the bulk of the songs that weekend. And then, oh yeah, so we could record everything together as a band. We didn't have to be like separated, like doing a Zoom thing. We could be together and create the music naturally, like the old days, like it should be done. And then Bill Nolte happened to come in that serendipitous weekend of New Year's Eve. That would be 2020. So he was here. So we got all that done. And then I thought, oh, I'm going to be able to finish my vocals, do the mixing. We're going to be able to put the CD out in 2020. Well, that didn't happen because of the pandemic. But I had plenty of time to do my vocals. And it became a very different way of recording after that. And I learned so much about technology with Zooming, with working with Farid when he was out of town. We could stream the audio, high quality audio file live to him while we were mixing. And he could say, for example, oh, put more reverb on my guitar in this section, or bring your vocal up here. He didn't have to be here for that, which was very helpful because we could accomplish our goals via new technology. So you learned something. We learned a lot.
Did new technology affect the quality? Because everybody in the same room is a little different from putting all the parts together.
Well, that's a good question. The technology, fortunately, only had to be used afterwards with the overdubs and mixing.
Oh.
Yeah. So no, it didn't affect the quality at all because we were still doing everything in our studio. It was just the ears, Farid could hear something from his home without being here and suggest things in the mix because he was co-producing the whole project with me. So, we needed his ears for everything. I couldn't mix anything without him, really. That was part of the process.
So it was even a little bit more convenient then, so that you could work, you didn't have to be together in order to work. Whenever something came up, then you could address it right away instead of having to meet in person.
Right. It was convenient, but at the same time, kind of unfortunate because we have more fun. You have more fun when you're together working on it. And I, I don't know. I think that being together in a physical space, I don't know. I think there's something to that. Obviously, if you were sitting right here, sitting right next to me, it'd be a little different. wouldn't it?
Yes. Mhm.
Than having to communicate this way, because I'm looking
Right.
at the camera. If I look at
Mhm.
you, it looks different. If I look at me, it looks different.
Mhm.
So it's all
Yes.
these learning curves that
Mhm.
you constantly have to think about instead of just being yourself, really.
Right. Well, it's
Yeah.
like the two of our auras being together. It just it's a meshing when we're in person.
Yes. Yes, definitely.
How did you come to work with Farid Haq and My Original Plan?
Well, I have worked with Farid on many of my other records. We just kind of click musically. Uh, he was the first person I called
Mm,
because I knew that when I was getting ready to record these songs, uh, I needed the music and the musician or musicians to be on the same page with me.
mhm,
So yeah, I called Farid first. I knew he would get it, he'd get it because he'd worked with me before on my original music.
mhm,
And when he was here for those first couple of rehearsals, just he and I, he said, I want to produce this with you,
mhm,
which we had not done before. On the
mm.
other records, it was more like I did the record, I'd call Farid in, like more like, oh, you're a special guest on this song, that song, other musicians. But this record, I don't know what it was. I just knew I needed him
Mhm.
to help bring the material to a higher level, I guess you could say.
It seemed that a lot of your songs and My Original Plan were personal, very personal topics, subjects. Was that maybe why Farid was appropriate for this project?
Yeah, he's been a friend for such a long time. It's not like the kind of a friend that we call each other up and hang out together, you
Mhm,
know. But he's been on so many projects over the years, um and I just feel like I can trust him
mhm,
musically, that he's always going to lead me in the right direction.
mhm.
um, he's always going to bring something to the project, bring something to the table that's going to enhance it. He's such an outstanding musician. Why wouldn't I want to work with Farid?
Right. You worked with Farid Haq in 2011 for the album As You Spend Your Life. So did you work with him also between then and now as well?
um, no, no. And
Oh.
we we haven't done many live gigs together.
Mhm,
Um, but we will be, which I'm happy to say. I don't know if
mhm.
you want to talk about that.
Oh, you could. Yes, absolutely.
Can
Go
I?
ahead. Yes.
This will be actually a sneak peek preview, no press release, just announcement that we're going to be doing the CD release party
Mhm,
live
mhm,
for My Original Plan on Sunday, July 18th at the Green Mill from 4 to 6 in the afternoon. It's a Sunday afternoon show, 4 to 6. And I'm very excited about this. And the musicians are me, Joanie Pallatto, Farid Haq, and Sparrow. That's it. So
mhm,
it's going to be a very special, intimate, kind of unplugged, if you will, an
mhm,
unplugged version of the record.
mhm,
Uh, no band, uh, just us.
mhm.
I think it's going to be fun.
Yes,
And I think
absolutely.
I heard that WZRD is going to be the radio sponsor of this event. So I'm very,
Yes,
very pleased, and we're very happy about that. That's so
yes.
great.
Thank you, Joni. Okay. Um, who are some artists with whom you would like to collaborate and why?
you know, well, I've always wanted to work with Cyndi Lauper.
Hmm,
I'm going to call her later. I'm
okay.
kidding. Chicago really has the best artists in the world. I've worked with all the guys through the years. Howard Levy, he's on this record. Bobby Lewis, who's just impeccable, his sound, his tone, a beautiful musician. And, through the years, Vaughn Freeman, who's of course not with us anymore. But I really feel I like my circle. I like my circle of friends and musicians, and they're the best anyway. So why look elsewhere? That I'm not saying that I'm not open to working with new musicians. Of course I am, but going out of town, you might need to, or maybe on another project, you could bring another musician in. But and Louise Everling and John Devlin, who are the rhythm section on my original plan. They've been sort of our Southport Records studio band, if you will. They played on George Freeman's last record, and it just works. It works.
How did you come to start working with these artists? Were they friends beforehand, or did you work with them on other projects and then just continue working with them?
I think having the studio and having the label, we had so many artists come in and out of the studio over the years, recording on different projects for different artists, not necessarily even a Southport record, So sometimes I would meet someone through that. I would hear someone in the studio and say, oh, wow, they're really good. I want to record with them. Or going to gigs and hearing musicians and realizing that they had the sound you were looking for. So yeah. So
do you still remember who it was that piqued your interest that way? Whose sound was it that you felt you had to work with that person?
Well, I think that I think Howard Levy would be one, I would say. Hearing him over the years, and primarily his harmonica playing. Howard's harmonica is so unique. He has such a gift and such a talent and such a different sound on the harmonica that I've used him on some. Sounds funny, doesn't it? I've used him on so many different songs that I've recorded. He's been a big part of that. So that'd be just one example. Of course, George Freeman. I mean, George is. We still talk to each other like every few days, and I'm jumping ahead of myself here, but we are in the process of discussions of the next George Freeman project, and he's very excited. He turned 94. He turned 94 on April 10th.
Oh.
And of this year. In fact, he was at the Green Mill also. He had his celebration there right when things started opening up, which was nice, So I think for someone like George at his young age, knowing that there's another recording project in the future is certainly inspiring, to say the least, for him. Kind of gives him something to look forward to. And working with him is certainly inspiring for us at Southport. So
yes, absolutely. Well, if you see this, George, happy belated birthday from WZRD.
I will. I'll let him know.
What usually comes first for you in the creative process? The lyrics or the music, or it varies?
I think it's always different. Often it might come from the lyric. It depends. It really depends. But if you have a lyric idea, then like my original plan, then the music came after. But sometimes I'll just sit down at the piano and start writing something musically and then have to add lyrics to it.
Mhm.
So it's challenging on either end in both ways, no matter what comes first.
Mhm.
Rarely, sometimes, but rarely they come together.
Yes, that's
And
why.
that's,
Do you still remember what song where it came together?
I'm looking at my record to see if that happened on any of these. I know, hmm. I'm looking, here's my record. There it
Yes.
is. Um, that's a funny question. But uh the song They Sentenced Us to Paradise, the reggae
Yes.
song,
Mhm.
that was another index card song, but it was Sparrow's idea. One day he said, they sentenced us to paradise. I know I'm not answering your question exactly,
That's okay.
but they sentenced us to paradise. And I thought, that's a great title for a song, right? And I
Mhm.
hadn't thought about it being a reggae song, but then it just seemed like the right thing to do. And it all came together. And I think that the music and the lyrics, once I started that song, it kind of more came together, I would
Mm.
say. And sometimes within a song, the lyric and you know, if you haven't finished the music to something,
Mhm.
you know, that what's in beneath in between the bread, the sandwich part,
Mhm.
uh, then the both can come together at the same time.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay, let's listen for a little bit to They Sentenced Us to Paradise.
Oh, great.
And that was a bit of the sentence that's to paradise. Sounds wonderful, Joanie.
It was fun. That was a fun song to record. And the vocals, the background vocals, which are all me, that was not easy because you're thinking about, you're doing 3-part harmony, but you're one person, right? So I had to think about each part and how it's really hard to explain, because on that particular song, for the background vocals, I didn't write a chart out for the vocals, like knowing, okay, all right, here's this section. I'm going to sing this here. I'm going to sing this there. I'm going to do that. No, I did it on the fly. So Sparrow's recording me, and I did all 3 parts in one section. And then maybe I do more than one try, oh, try that again. It wasn't clear. It was a little flat, Sparrow would say. So I'd had to do it again. And then we did the next section. And then Sparrow said, you better come in the control room and decide on which of those 3 parts you're using in each section. Because if we get all the way to the end of the song, you're never going to be able to figure this out. You won't remember which part was good, which part you liked, and which part you didn't. And you're going to have to listen to everything all over again. That saved so much grief, just him figuring out that I should do it that way. So it was fun. And I always go back to George Freeman. He said that when that's his favorite song on the record. And when he hears the background vocals, he calls it Joanie and the Girls. He said, it's not all you, it's Joanie and the Girls. So I have an automatic band edition now, Joanie and the Girls.
Right.
Yeah.
So when Sparrow said to decide on that part, so was that the part that did that part remain the same throughout the song, or did it actually change at some point in the song?
Well, these were the background vocal, all the different sections of the vocals in the song, when I'd sing yeah, 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 in the harmonies and stuff. So I mean, I'm doing the 3 parts one at a time. So he's saying you have to make sure we like each part. And then later, even after we were done with that, then in mixing it to get the balance proper for the 3 parts, because it wasn't a group of girls singing it together where you'd already have that balance, So no matter what I did, there was no way that I could make it like perfect of the volume level of each part, because I might be putting a slightly different tone to the voice on each part. So it would kind of sound like the Girls instead of all Joanie. I don't know. I don't know if it sounds like all Joanie or not, but George doesn't think it does.
Yeah, it sounded really good.
Really good is good.
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. When in your career did you decide to start writing your own songs, and what was your inspiration?
Well, I really think that Sparrow has always inspired me, because when I met him, all of his music is original. He doesn't do any other music than his own music, which I think is pretty special. So that was an inspiration to think, oh, he's not concerned with other people's music. He just wants, he just hears his own music and wants to bring that out of himself to the world, if you will. So that was very inspiring. So through the years, before I really started writing, composing more on my own, um, I would work with him on his music
Mhm.
because I was the singer. So I would work on lyrics or different musical parts to his songs.
Mhm.
So that sort of got me more involved. And then I had the opportunity to work with the great long gone again pianist King Fleming, who's no longer with us. King did a recording for Southport called the King Fleming Songbook, and it was all his original music. Um, King's music, of course, is in the style of more of a traditional jazz sound. Well, he he was there when those songs, those standards were being written, and
Mhm.
he just happened to be a composer writing his own music during that era.
Mhm.
Um, After his songbook record, he called me up one day and he said, Joanie, I want you to I want to do a new record with you. I said, what do you mean with me? He said, I want you to write lyrics to all my songs. And I don't even know how he knew that I could do that. I didn't even really know that I could do that, to tell you the truth, you know. So
Mhm.
that was in 2000. And wow, I just heard it. It was easy after working with Sparrow and being inspired by the way he writes, and he makes lyrics, writing lyrics seem so easy, poetry and lyrics. And if you just tap into that, it just came out, and it all worked together for King Fleming
Mhm.
on that recording. And then after that, I did my first CD was called It's Not Easy. It's Not Easy. And that was in 2008. And that was my first CD of all original music. And
Mhm.
again, I had Farid is playing on that record. Um, Howard Levy is playing on that record. I used him again.
Mhm.
And so that was my first experiment with doing a record all original.
Mhm.
And then, as you mentioned, As You Spend Your Life, and you know, I don't know, it's not, I don't like write every day. It's not like something, I'm not the kind of artist or composer that says, I'm going to sit down and write a song today. I don't do that every day. So I don't
Mhm.
know why it took so long, but it was incubating, I guess.
Mhm. Well, I guess the songs come to you. It has to be the right time, and then something inspires you, and then you start the project.
Yeah,
Kind of.
it's hard to know sometimes, you know,
Mhm.
like any artist, you know, or any other type of artist, a sculptor, a painter, a dancer, a musician, you know.
Mhm. Okay.
Hmm.
What made you decide to create your own record label, Southport Records, with your husband, Bradley Parker Sparrow?
Oh, that's easy. Um, Sparrow started the label when he released his first
Mhm.
LP called Latin Black. And that was probably 1978, something like 78, 79. Um, he went to other labels. He shopped the record, you know,
Mhm.
uh, meaning shopping the record means as an artist, you have your record complete.
Mhm.
You go to a label like Delmark Records, for example, when
Mhm.
Bob Kester was running the label then. And as we all know now, Bob Kester recently passed away, and his legacy of Delmark continues. But he took the record to Bob, and Bob said, all you musicians are always trying to create your own label, do it yourself. So he did it himself. He said, well, I can't get on Blue Note. I can't get on Delmark. I've been turned down. So, okay, I'm going to put my own record out. So he put Latin Black out on then Sparrow Sound Design, which is the name of our recording studio records. And then after that, he started working with friends basically that needed an outlet for their records to realize their dreams, if you will. Dave Gordon was one of the first artists on Sparrow Sound Design Records. I think he's number 2, the pianist and composer. So that's sort of how the label was created. Then we got married in 1982, and we were looking for a place to move the studio, or actually just someplace to start our life, you know. And it was like, well, are we going to move to New York and think about really becoming that artist life and focusing everything just on our music and our art? Or do we want to be business people and continue the studio that Sparrow already had and build a real studio and have a business? And that was a great decision. That's what we did. We opened Sparrow Sound Design in Lakeview on Southport Avenue in 1984. Then I wanted to put my first record out called Whisper Not, which was released in 86, I guess it was, something like that. I might not have it exactly right. We were pretty much thinking of not doing the label. But when my record came out, I couldn't sell it to Blue Note. I couldn't sell it to Delmark or whoever, you know. So we were like, well, let's keep the label going. And we renamed it Southport Records because we moved to Southport then. And it's been Southport ever since. And that's the whole story. Not the whole story.
So what is the difference? You are an independent label. What is the difference between an independent label and a dependent label?
Well, you know, like a major label is like Sony or EMI. An independent label, you're not really affiliated with those big corporate conglomerate major labels.
I see.
An independent label could have one artist, or it can be a group, or it can be a partnership, like Sparrow and I are a partnership, and it's our label, or a small company producing, distributing on their own, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pretty straightforward then.
Yeah. You just don't have that corporate arm behind you, you know, like Sony Records or, you know.
Right. Yeah, there's not that much cash, but there's more independence.
Oh, yeah. That's for sure.
Yes, and then also, I think you're able to experiment more, right? You don't have to go with their philosophy and what they want to market. You're more able to do something that is totally out of the box.
Yeah, you know, when we released Bobby Lewis's, the beautiful flugelhorn player, when we released his first record called Inside This Song on our label, he was shopping his record. We recorded it here. He didn't know it was going to end up on Southport at the time he was recording it, but he recorded a version of, remember Chuck Mangione's The Land of Make Believe? A beautiful song. It was a hit.
I think so, yes.
I don't know, 30 years ago or whatever. Da 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 da. Beautiful song, Chuck Mangione. So Bobby's version was really long. He had his solo, Pat Mallinger, I think, was on it. He had 2 bass players, different solos. You know, John Whitfield was on it. Thomas Keeney was on it. Paul Werdico. It was long. Would never make it on a radio station. I mean, like 11 minutes long or something, like crazy. But it was great. So
he would make it on WZRD. We have tracks that last over 11 minutes.
That's because WZRD is freeform, and you can play those things, which is beautiful. So yeah, I'll give you a copy of, I'll send you a copy of Bobby's record so you can play it.
Okay.
But he said, well, what do you and Sparrow feel about that song being that long on the record? And we were like, it's beautiful. Why shouldn't you include that on your recording, on your record? It's great. So he said, I'm going to go with you guys. So after that first record, I don't know, Bobby's got more than 10 records on Southport. And then he's got another 5 in the box that he released on his own. And before that, so yeah, that was an artistic success story.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Why would he release it on his own instead of releasing it with the Southport? Do you know?
Oh, you're talking about after
Yes,
he released later records?
Yes, the 5
Well,
records.
when we that's a good question. When we moved the studio, about, gosh, when did we move the studio? It's, everything seems like 5 years, but then it's 10 years, and then it's 15 years.
Mhm.
We weren't sure we were going to keep going with the label at that time.
Mhm.
We moved everything into our living space. So instead of having a home studio, we have a studio home. Because I told Sparrow, I said, if we're going to move the studio, we have to be able to record. I have to be able to record. I would have nightmares if I would think about going to someone else's studio and I would want them to do this and want them to do that. I have to have the control. So we moved everything, as it turned out, into our space. But like I said, at the time, we wanted to slow down, and we did slow down. We didn't release that many records for some time. So an artist like Bobby would want to continue. So
Yes.
I think it was maybe hard for him or sad for him maybe at first, but he completely understood, and I believe got more out of it than not. It's that learning curve again. I
Right.
think he got a lot more out of it than he knew he would by doing his own thing. So
Did you help him with any advice?
oh, of course, always. We talk all the time, so we run
And
things past each other. Yeah.
awesome. What about the Southport record? So you moved, so it was on Southport Avenue, and then you moved, and was that to another location on Southport Avenue?
Yeah, upstairs.
Oh, okay. Okay. Mhm. When do artistic considerations conflict with profit considerations for a record label, and how do you address them?
Well, usually we work with the artist, and they pretty much have complete control outside of if I'm producing or assisting with production, or if it's on our label and I'm engineering, and I might have suggestions.
Mhm.
It's funny because you asked about advice. Do you give advice? Advice is a funny thing. It depends on if the person wants it,
Mhm.
right? But I think that the artistic considerations, on Southport, the profit was always kind of split between different factors with different artists on different records, if you could say. Some records we've produced the whole project ourselves, and other artists put some of their money in, and we put some of our money in, or the studio in. So it's always a little different. So the profit considerations, I think Southport has always been more about the art and not so much about the profit. It's hard when you're not a major label, it's like,
Yes.
how much money are you really going to make? Do you really have those dreams, or are they delusions of grandeur? Sometimes it can be a combination of both, I have no delusions. I just like the fact, I'm thrilled with the fact that I can write songs, that I can write music, that I can sing, that I can create art. And I don't, I guess I would say that I'm very fortunate because I don't need to depend on my art for my living,
Mhm.
which is not the case with a lot of artists that do, especially this past year of the pandemic. My heart goes out to so many artists that lost their income from not being able to perform live.
Mhm.
And that's not just artists. So many people just have been their lives and their art. I mean, what is art? Is it living? You know, it's been
Yes.
hard. It's been a hard time for a lot of people,
Mhm.
as we all know. So, but things are looking up. So
Mhm.
that's good.
Yes.
That's good.
Well, you recently won the Lifetime Achievement Award for Southport Records, and you have produced about over 150 albums, right, at Southport Records. So, what do you think the Lifetime Achievement Award is for? The support of the artist, for the quality of the records? What, in your opinion, was the most important part of that Lifetime Achievement?
I think the fact that having been in the business for so many years,
Mhm.
uh, sort of working and nurturing the art with so many artists, as I said, not only on Southport Records, but in the studio. Um, Many times, you know, I'd be working, I worked with many singers over the years.
Mhm.
Uh, and just to be able to work with a singer and see a vast improvement during the process of the recording of the record, with singing in tune, uh, the tone of your voice, whatever, just nurturing the music and the art through all the years. Being able to work with a diverse group of artists from so many different genres,
Mhm.
mostly jazz.
Mhm.
Um, uh, but there's so many different aspects of jazz. You
Mhm.
have someone like Fred Anderson, who is in the avant-garde. We released 2 of his records. Von Freeman, who is just completely unique, releasing his records. Willie Pickens. Um, and then we would have someone like Paulinho Garcia, the Brazilian guitarist,
Mhm.
a whole different genre of music.
Mhm.
Uh, and on the classical side, the great composer George Flynn, the flutist Janice Miserel Mitchell. Um, so just working with all these different genres, all these different artists for so many different years in the studio, creating, producing, releasing records, and the development of the art, I think, was a big part of the award. Uh,
Mhm.
just just um, just to be acknowledged like that was really a surprise and a really nice honor. Really felt, made me feel good.
Are you able to do two projects at a time, or is it usually one project at a time for Support Records?
Well, these days, you know, it's funny, everything's changed. Like I just did my record, but Farid wants to start another record with me right away, and so do I.
Mhm.
Uh, Sparrow's working on his new record, which he's way past due. And then we've got George Freeman. So after a period of slowing down,
Mhm.
it seems like things are kind of picking up again. So that's kind
Mhm.
of exciting. Yeah.
Mhm. Okay. We have seen some artists before whose music does not get picked up by automated tracking, and thus those artists may not get all of their royalties. We learned that they had not registered their work correctly. Can you give some advice to artists about registering their music correctly?
Well, all right. So the rules are, number one, copyright your music.
Mhm.
You have to copyright the music. You got to pay the piper. You can't put the piece of paper in the envelope and mail it to yourself like in the old days. That was like the poor man's way of copyright.
Mhm.
Do the copyright. It's registered right there. It's registered in the US Copyright Office. My mom wrote a pretty song years ago called Gypsy Love. And I wrote it out, I recorded it, I filled out the papers for the Copyright Office, I sent it in, I have it in a book. So she was so proud because her music was registered with the Copyright Office. It was
Mhm.
real, you know.
Mhm.
So you need to copyright your work. You can form your own publishing company, and then you have to register with one of the publishing companies like ASCAP or BMI, and all of that keeps track of your recordings when it's played on the radio and stuff like that. You know, even in a nightclub, because
Mhm.
they have to pay certain fees when your music is included.
Okay. What
Wonder how
about,
things are. Yeah,
yeah,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, that's okay. That's okay. What about ISRC codes? Sometimes we've seen those get mixed up.
Yeah, that was kind of new for me too. You know, it's for CD Baby is
Mhm.
very helpful with all of this. And
Mhm.
I've found, I know there are other companies and there have been different opinions, but CD Baby will provide you with those codes.
Mhm.
Um, so you can also get them from your publishing affiliation, your ASCAP or your BMI.
Mm. Okay.
But you
And
know,
yeah, and
a
the
lot of artists
affiliation.
go on CD Baby because what CD Baby will do for you is uh, promote it automatically to all the online, Spotify, Apple Music, all that,
Mhm.
and they provide the music to YouTube, and they provide you with the ISRC code. So
Mhm.
yeah, I
Okay.
would say try that.
Mhm.
It's
Okay.
easier.
Yes, yes, definitely. Okay. Okay, let's do a Wizard WZRD community assessment with you.
Okay.
WZRD Chicago, being a nonprofit radio station, must be responsible to the community that we serve. WZRD is mandated to file quarterly issues with the FCC on non-entertainment community-focused programming. So we like to assess the community for these quarterly issue topics with 3 questions. The first question is, what is most important to you?
Well, I think the creation of new ideas, um, whether it's music or uh, creating uh, uh, a new product. uh, the new ideas are very important, and I like to help other people and artists realize their dreams and their visions.
Mhm. Yes, we see that you're very, very helpful with you're free with your advice and you're very helpful with all the experience that you have had.
Thank
Let's
you.
get off, you're welcome. Let's get off the topic a little bit and go back to the artist affiliation. I wanted to ask you, so do artists have to be affiliated with one, like BMI or SCAP, or do they need to be affiliated with all of them?
No, you would choose one.
Choose one. Okay.
You choose one, yeah, ASCAP or BMI or is there another one?
Yes, there are a couple there. At
Yeah,
least WZRD has licenses with 5 of them, but I don't recall off the top
yeah,
right now, the
I
different
should know
ones.
that.
That's okay. Okay, the second question for the community assessment is, what longer-term problem must we address?
Wow. You know, what's always really sticks in my mind is that there are people that are hungry in this world, in this country. Um, it doesn't make much sense, does it? Because especially here, not to get overly political, but we have so much money. Uh, no one should go hungry, you know. And then I would say education for the next generation,
Mhm.
and teaching kind of goes hand in hand with the food and education, teaching people how to be healthy.
Mhm.
That's the other thing, because people that don't have access to fresh food, you know, that might eat junk food or bad things for their body, from a young age, they haven't really been educated about being healthy and making those choices. And
Mhm.
sometimes, like I say, they don't have those choices. So that's a problem. That's a problem I think would be
Mhm.
my pick.
Okay, the long-term problem. Okay.
Yeah.
This is WZRD Chicago 88.3 FM, and we have with us Joanie Pallatto, vocalist and of Southport Records. The third question, Joanie, for our community assessment, our WZRD community assessment is, what problem must be resolved now?
What about the inclusion of women and more minorities in everything, in
Mhm.
administration, in production, in the arts? We're getting there with our vice president, but you know, I think things are changing a lot. But I think the inclusion of women and minorities across the board,
Mhm.
because that's the only way to really affect change, is to
Mhm.
have the mix of people that are part of this
Fabric.
world, the fabric
Mhm.
of the world, of the what does our world look like? It doesn't look like one person. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Joanie Pallatto, artist, vocalist, and owner with your husband, Bradley Parker Sparrow of Southport Records, the label. And as we sign off, we'll play My Original Plan and several other tracks from My Original Plan.
And I just want to thank WZRD again for all the support they've given us. It's just profound. It's very appreciated. And also to thank WZRD for being our radio sponsor for my CD release party, My Original Plan, which is going to be July 18th at the Green Mill from 4 to 6 p.m. So please join us. There'll be more news coming about that. You got the scoop.
Yes. Thank you so much, Joanie Pallatto.
Thank you so much.